Hello, my name is Joseph Arnold. Today I'm going to share some insights with you about what to do when you don't have enough time to practice, or alternatively, when you don't have enough motivation to practice. And I'm going to share some really unique insights with you about this, something kind of out of the ordinary, because what typically people do when they don't have enough time to practice or they don't feel like they have enough motivation, people tend to force themselves to practice. Or then when that doesn't work, they feel bad about themselves. They feel ashamed that they didn't get enough practicing in. And what I'm going to share with you today avoids that dynamic, the force shame dynamic. And I think you'll enjoy the freedom and empowerment that these insights will bring you. So again, my name is Joseph Arnold. I'm an Alexander Technique teacher and violinist and director of the Soul Force Arts Academy. And I guess I'll just get right into it. So this is a common question that I get. Hey Joseph, I want to be practicing more. I know I should practice more, but I'm not really, and I feel kind of bad about that. Or I just don't have enough time. How am I going to fit it in? And usually people feel kind of bad about not practicing enough, right? Because we all know that practice makes perfect, right? Or at least you need to practice some in order to get better at something, right? And probably if you practice lots, you'll get even better. And, as far as it goes, that's true. The more time you spend with your art, whether that's music or dance or composing or whatever it is that you do, then the better you're going to get at it, right? Except for certain nuances here. So one caveat is that what people typically do is to force themselves to practice when they don't want to. And you could call the authoritarian way of practicing. Like, I'm going to make myself practice or else. But the trouble with this way of practicing is that it doesn't feel good. And it's really hard to motivate yourself to do something that doesn't feel good. When you're in that authoritarian mindset, your body's going to get tight and you're going to have that sort of rigid determination, and it's just not fun. And this is actually really important. On the one hand, like, why are we doing art if it's not fun? I'm not saying that it has to be like rainbows and unicorns all the time. Of course there's hard work. Of course there is. But there's a difference between hard work that's rigid and authoritarian and hard work that's still fun. Right? And if you think about those two options, which ones are you going to be more motivated to do? I believe that not having enough time is actually not a viable excuse. I believe that if you wanted to do something, no matter what it was, if you really wanted to, then you would make time to do it. It would not even be a question in your mind. It would just be like, wow, I really want to do this right now, so I'm gonna make different choices. And I know that there are people who have full-time jobs and kids, and they still make time to do the things that they want to do. And what at the core of this for me is just how practicing feels for you. Does it actually feel good? If it doesn't feel good, then you're not going to want to do it. If it does feel good, then you are going to want to do it. And the biggest factor in how good it feels is what kind of mindset you bring to your practicing. If you're bringing this rigid authoritarian mindset or any version of I should do this because, or else, then that's not going to feel good. And so your motivation, of course, is going to drop off. And then you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't practice as much as you'd like to. But if your practicing does actually feel good, then it doesn't take willpower or determination to practice. The only willpower you might use is just to remember that, hey, you know what? I actually do feel good when I practice. So why not do at least a little bit? And if you do a little bit, if you have time for a little bit, or if you do a little bit, even if you don't think you have time, then you'll probably find time to do a little bit more. So I'm a big believer in not forcing anything, not forcing yourself to practice. And there's a common objection. Well, don't you have to force yourself sometimes? And maybe. But really, if you make that your long-term strategy, then you're going to fail. It's a sign. If this is your long-term strategy, then maybe there's a couple things going on. Maybe what you're doing is just not for you. Maybe you believe that you should be practicing your art because of whatever reason. Your parents paid for your education, so you should. Or you believe it'll, I guess a common one is, I don't want to look bad in front of my peers, so I'll get better at what I do. But that's not really a deep enough motivation to make this sustainable. It's not something that's going to get you up out of bed in the morning and get you to pick up your instrument. So you can check in, is doing this art, this music, this dance really something I want to do? And that can be a scary question for some people, given how many years that you've put into it. But it's worth really checking in. Because if it is something you really want, then you can use that desire to energize your practicing. But if it isn't something that you really want, then you're just going to be forcing yourself and you're just going to exhaust yourself. You're going to get burnt out. You can make yourself really unhappy. And your art's going to suffer. When you're unhappy and burnt out, and you're going like this when you're practicing, then your art's going to suffer. And of course, the other big area of inquiry is your attitude. Just what you're bringing to your practicing. Are there other ways of practicing that can be helpful? Well, what a lot of people do in practicing is just mechanical repetition, mindless repetition. Let's go over the hard parts a bunch of times, try really hard to play the hardest parts of the song or whatever it is, a bunch of times until you get it right. And of course, again, there's definitely a place for not mechanical, but repetition. You gotta repeat things in order to get better at them, absolutely. But it's the mechanical part. It's the focus, the kind of a narrow focus on just the hardest parts of the song and just repeating them until you get it right. That's not a satisfying thing to do. I mean, it can be, once you actually get the thing, at least a little bit, but that's more like working music than playing music. And what I'm saying overall here is that playing is utterly key to every aspect of your creative life. recovering that play is the key to your motivation, to the quality of your art, the quality of your life, how your body feels, your emotions. So inquiring into any authoritarian mindset that you bring to practicing is absolutely necessary to making the kind of improvements that you might want, to having the kind of well-being that you might want, to being able to practice as much as you want, to improving your art in the ways that you'd like. So I'll share one more thing about how I define practicing. So practicing is not just something that happens in the practice room. I heard a really great definition of foreplay, in a book about sex. And the definition was, foreplay is everything that happens in the relationship after the last orgasm. And for me, practicing is the same. So with foreplay, if you have an argument, or if you do something really nice for your partner, or whatever happens in the relationship since the last time you had sex, that's going to color what you bring to the next time you have sex. And same thing with practicing. Practicing your craft, your art, is not confined to the practice room. Your mood, your life choices, your energy, the interpersonal relationships that you have, the kinds of art and music that you typically listen to in your own life, just the whole context of your life overall, how much you're, like what kind of food you're eating and how much sleep you're getting. All these things are part, or then affect what happens in the practice room. And so you can begin to redefine what practicing actually is. Like taking good care of yourself, taking good care of your body, your emotions, is part of practicing. Going to therapy, doing your yoga class, taking Alexander technique lessons. This is practicing. Listening to music, or meditating, or whatever it is. Things that help attune you in your art outside of the practice room, things that help improve your well-being outside of the practice room, all count in a certain way. So I believe that a too narrow a definition about what practicing is, that it has to be with your instrument in your hand, or you have to be sweating, or you have to be trying really hard, like all that's just nonsense. And it's nonsense because your whole life is connected to your art. Your whole life is connected to your art. So maybe there are things that you can start to define as practicing that typically you haven't. And maybe those things will help you feel better about practicing when you do actually have your instrument in your hand. And I would highly recommend that you do those things, because that's going to help your motivation, right? And that's going to help you practice more. And if you practice more and it feels good, it actually feels good, then every part of your creative life improves. Your audiences are going to like the results as well. Because I'll tell you what, your audiences, audiences listen for a lot of things. They go to concerts for a lot of reasons, but mostly what they want is your aliveness. They want to see your joy. They want your presence, your passion, your enjoyment. That's what they want to see. That's what they want to share in. And sure, you can whip yourself into a or practice your way into being a virtuoso with what you do. But if you do it in an authoritarian way, then that's what's going to come through on stage. And that's not going to be any fun for your audience. Okay, so your homework for today is to take this phrase, my whole life is connected to my art. My whole life is connected to my art. And yeah, repeat that to yourself a bunch of times. Today, tomorrow, this whole week, my whole life is connected to my art. Okay. So please do click the like button on this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to this channel. I will have lots more videos coming out. They're coming slowly right now, only one a week or so, because I'm writing a book, which is called Soul Force Arts, the vital role of musicians and other artists in a world that's lost its mind. And it's about this kind of stuff. So once that book comes out, I'll be doing more videos. And of course, if you want to learn more about that book, you can sign up for my newsletter on my website, josepharnold.com. And in 2023, early 2023, I'm going to have a new website, soulforcearts.com. So keep an eye out for that. And otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.